Sasha's character goes through some really interesting changes in these final 2 episodes before the Season 2 finale, those being The Dinner and Battle of the Bands, both of which were incredible character-centric episodes that are some of my favorite in this season. These episodes place Sasha in such a position that it is not necessarily a foregone conclusion that she will indeed betray Anne at the end of the Season 2 finale, True Colors. Considering how close Anne and Sasha become again in these 2 episodes, I don't think Anne could ever forgive Sasha if she did betray Anne in the way that a lot of us think she will. Thankfully for us fans of Anne, Sasha, and their friendship, I don't think she will. But first off, we have to talk about what we mean by betrayal, and while we're in that territory, we have to talk about what we mean by redemption. Marcy preventing the trio from going home by giving the box to King Andrias, as a lot of us believe she will, that is of course a betrayal. But in what sense is Sasha allowing the Toads into Newtopia a betrayal? Anne is not particularly fond of Newtopia, she likes it well enough, but she's not Marcy, she's not particularly allied with King Andrias or the Newts. And it's also worth pointing out that while the Toads' intentions might not be the greatest, their mission is just. The Newts are not trustworthy. They are at the top of what appears to be a very rigid hierarchy in Newtopia, and also their leader wants to unleash a giant force of pure evil upon the world, so that's obviously not a good thing either. No. If this is a betrayal, it's a betrayal because Anne put her trust in Sasha, despite Sasha's actions toward her in the past, and Anne would take Sasha using this opportunity to lead the Toads into Newtopia as a betrayal of the bond between them. She would view Sasha as just having used her, which, from Grimes' perspective, is correct. That was the plan, but from Sasha's perspective, I don't think that's entirely fair, but it would make sense that she would think that. Especially since she does not have access to Sasha's subjectivity in the same way that we do. Sasha, however, would know that something like this would deeply affect Anne, and I think that's why she won't entirely go through with it. Sasha genuinely cares about Anne. It can be hard to tell that sometimes because Sasha's pride gets in the way, but she cares more about Anne than she does about anyone. The friendship between her and Anne is, in spite of all things, on its way to being restored, and this makes both Anne and Sasha extremely happy, and I don't think Sasha would betray that. It means a lot to her. Sasha has not prioritized taking power over her friend, Anne, and going home with Anne. That has always been her top priority. She wants to get the 3 of them back home. Power, while she does tend to seek it because that's just who she is not nearly as important to her as these friendships. Going off this, what people say they want is a redemption narrative for Sasha, but what exactly does that mean? I voiced my problems in the past with this simplistic Manichaean dynamic of sorting characters into good or evil and just viewing everyone in between those 2 extreme poles as either being redeemed or being corrupted. This is not a good way to look at art, and it's not a good way to look at people. It's something that flattens human behavior, and I will continue to voice my problems with this in the future. I use the term redemption here and in the title because it's a term that's familiar to a lot of people, and if I'm being quite honest, it's a term that will get more people to click on this. But we, as the viewers, should ask ourselves what exactly we're saying when we say that Sasha should be redeemed. Do we mean that she should become a completely different person? she doesn't want that, and I don't think we should either. At the end of the dinner, she says that she likes who she is, and she doesn't want a drastic change to her personality. Now, should we believe her? I'm not sure. I mean, Sasha is, of course, not being entirely honest with herself. Like, there's this segment early in the dinner where she acts kind of cartoonishly evil, which strikes me as kind of weird, honestly, because we know that's not who she really is. She proves that just in the rest of these 2 episodes, that that's not really her. I can only assume that she's just kind of lying to herself about who she really is. Because it's difficult trying to come back into this friendship when there's so many broken bonds between the 3 of them. And Sasha would kind of like everything to go back to how it was before. But of course, Anne does not want that, and Anne is in the right here. But Anne empathizes with Sasha, and she likes Sasha in a lot of ways. She thinks Sasha is bold and brave and self-sacrificing, daring and willful, and a passionate person, and a strong friend when she wants to be. These are all good aspects of Sasha's character, and I don't want her to lose any of those aspects of herself any more than Anne does. I want Sasha to still be Sasha, but she should be a better Sasha. And a better Sasha, this episode suggests, would be accepting who Anne has become. It's about suppressing her desire for absolute control of every situation she finds herself in. This is a tendency that, as Sasha admits to herself in Battle of the Bands, is as unhealthy for herself as it is for her relationships with those around her. Again, it is true that these episodes have a few silly, over-the-top moments for Sasha, such as when she tries to defend herself by saying that she only tried to kill the planters once. It's in moments like these that it really becomes clear that she is so young. It's really easy to forget that a lot of times, but she is still only 13. She has a lot to learn. And I would like to say that while the planters' anger at her and their attempts to sabotage her are understandable, Sasha is not wrong to take all this as a rejection of her, especially when they're playing that pictogram-like game and the planters make wrong guesses, possibly on purpose, because it's pretty obvious that it's just a tree. So it could be that they are just trying to mess with her, especially since they keep bringing up the worst moments of her life in Amphibia, moments that she would much rather forget. It's kind of callous, and I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it, but it's not something that would make me feel welcome if I were in her position. Nonetheless, for the most part in this episode, Sasha demonstrates that she is on the road to becoming a better person. She wants to become a better friend to Anne, and she's willing to listen to Anne in a way that she really wasn't in earlier episodes of the show. Sasha is really starting to leave behind her worst tendencies. I saw a lot of people speculating before the episode aired, but after the songs dropped, that Sasha's song called Heart Stomper was an indication that she would betray Anne, because Anne is the heart of the group, both metaphorically and literally, considering she has the heart gem. But while I accept this association, I draw the exact opposite conclusion from it. I mean, look at the context of the episode itself. Sasha has the song called Heartstomper, and she decides not to perform it in the episode and instead to perform with her friends, even though that means giving up complete control, which, again, is really hard for her. But it's also something that caused her to have more fun in the long run. This suggests to me that she's moving beyond her plan to betray Anne, and that she really wants to help Anne. Their friendship looks to me to be healthier than it's ever been, including back when they were kids. But my favorite moment in either of these episodes has to be at the end of the dinner. Anne is constantly overshadowed by Marcy and Sasha, both much flashier characters, but I've really come to appreciate Anne in these last few episodes. I loved her little speech in Bessie and Michelangelo about how she's finally getting to like herself for the first time ever, perhaps, and then her speech to Sasha in the Third Temple about how Sasha, yes, has been controlling, but she's also been brave and fearless and always been there for her. And her speech at the end of the dinner is kind of a mix of these. She says that she doesn't want Sasha to become a completely different person. She likes Sasha, but she wants Sasha to admit that she, Anne, has changed. And Sasha, much to the relief of Anne and us, seems very open to this. Anne is independent and daring and thoughtful now. She's not a scared little kid like she was back on Earth. This does not mean that she doesn't need Sasha's protection anymore. It just means that she doesn't need it as much. She has her own identity now. And Sasha, for her part, respects that. She accepts that Anne has matured a lot, and she accepts that Anne wants to treat her like an equal, and, well, I won't say that Sasha has entirely let go of all her more patronizing views of Anne. A lot of those old views seem to be dissolving. She seems to be moving beyond them, and their friendship is a lot stronger for it. This doesn't mean Sasha always behaves fairly toward Anne. Sasha does always have that fire in her that makes her want to drag everyone along with her to where she believes they all need to go, even if that's not where they want to go. But she sees Anne as more of a unique, distinct person now. Someone with her own beliefs and her own desires and her own wants. Anne is a cool and thoughtful person, and Sasha appreciates this. The friendship between them is growing more mature and stronger and harder to break. It's much less hierarchical than it was before. It's much more equal. Sasha's pride could get in the way of her becoming a better person, but these episodes demonstrate that she's well on her way to overcoming that pride and overcoming all these obstacles that lie in her path to becoming a better person. I believe in her. So anyway, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Amphibia. It has some weird moments, but it really is a wonderful show. So clever and inventive, and the character dynamics are earnest and rich. They feel very real and grounded, and I appreciate that. As an artist, I'm very much looking forward to all the heartbreak that will result in True Colors, but as someone who cares about these characters, I'm kind of scared too. But I'm sure it'll be a fantastic episode. Also, if you haven't noticed, there's been a change in locations. If y'all are one of my newer viewers that just hopped on for my Amphibia videos, let me say that this is my actual house. I was in Santa Fe for the last couple months, but now I'm back in Colorado. I'll be here for the foreseeable future, at least until I go back to New York for college. So this is your home for more Amphibia videos. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. I promise you all that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.